Thank you everybody for joining us today. For those of you that have not joined us for 1 Million Cups before or don't know what 1 Million Cups is, 1 Million Cups is a national movement founded by the Kauffman Foundation to celebrate entrepreneurship. Typically, we will be hearing from entrepreneurs who have been in business for 5 years or less, or sometimes at 1 Million Cups Eau Claire, we invite presenters that have been in business and are just making a career shift or pivot, which seems to be kind of what's happening a lot lately. So today, we will be joined by Justin Baco from Dialog Design Company to talk about what he is doing. Justin actually presented with us a couple years ago, but he has some updates that he's going to share with the group, and then we'll have some Q&A after his presentation. So I'll kick it over to you, Justin.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Well, thanks everyone for being here and for being willing to listen to my little summary of Dialog. I want to give you an update since we last talked a year and a half ago and dig into what Dialog is all about. And we're actually going to use my website as my kind of outline to keep me on track, because I'm really nerdy and I talk about subjects I get off topic very easily, and then I dive deep and then completely get off topic. So we're going to keep myself focused through this process of walking through my website. So, and the reason I'm doing that is because I actually designed my homepage of my site to be intentionally kind of what I'm all about, and it's a pretty good explanation of what I'm doing here. And I'll try to make this extremely short, but as clear as possible. So Dialog Design Company was started actually a very long time ago, but it's adjusted a lot over the last year and a half since I launched it full time. I had been working for others for the majority of my career, and I launched my business thinking my business would be something for someone, and I pivoted a lot. And that's the typical startup story with different entrepreneurs and different things they do. And so now, over the last year and a half, I've kind of taken my firm into a very comfortable direction. Still some pivoting to do. So this is, you got the 1.0 last time, you're getting the 1.5 or maybe even the 2.0 now. And then there will be a 3.0, I'm sure, as I continue to find markets that need my services. So I'll explain what I do in a nutshell. Dialog is primarily a branding firm for entrepreneurs. And what I mean by branding is that I've got a 5-part framework that helps business owners, entrepreneurs understand. Oh, I'm hearing understand their value and communicate it clearly. Because as we all know, communication is, well, I shouldn't say we all know. I've learned this little tidbit. I'll share it with you. It's a little gold nugget for you. Communication isn't what you say. It's what the other person hears. That applies interpersonally in marriage and relationships, friendships, also is true in business. And so I've kind of taken that principle. Well, how do we make sure that the other person hears what you have to say clearly so that you can actually get their attention? So you can actually offer yourself as a legitimate solution to their problem. So I've got a 5-part framework. I'll talk about that in a minute. But for the most part, I still do. Whereas, I launched, I was like, oh, I'm going to be for startups and folks. I really am branding and marketing for entrepreneurs. So started as, we're going to do branding and websites, kind of branched out a little bit to kind of meet some of the needs in the marketplace. Because if you work with business owners long enough, especially in this area, you discover they don't know what branding is, or they may kind of had kind of an idea what branding is. And I'll give you guys kind of the 2-minute version of that later. But really what they want are different kinds of related marketing solutions. So had to start narrow, then branch out, and then come back to narrow again to kind of refine my services. So branding and marketing for entrepreneurs, those are big words. And so I explained it here through the site. And ultimately, why I chose entrepreneurs is because entrepreneurs are the ones who are growth minded. Marketing isn't for someone who wants to stay still and plateau. There are plenty of business owners that are like, okay, we reached a certain level and now we're good. And, obviously a con with that is if they don't have any marketing system, when things hit like the pandemic, then they go, and then nothing, they've got no marketing to back them up. Well, we're referral based. And so that's one need I can meet. However, my target audience is entrepreneurs, folks that are like, yeah, we've got this goal here. We want to be the market leader here, or we want to start this new project or this new, this new offshoot of our company, or we want to completely start a new company. And I help them kind of identify some of those goals and then turn them into marketing objectives. So, okay, we want this many users, or we want this many viewers, or we want this many buyers, or we want this kind of position in the marketplace. All these kind of great questions I ask. So folks have this problem. They don't know how to get to where they're going. They know they want to use marketing. And so Then through my help, they're able to kind of position themselves as, you know, the premium, the best, the cheapest, whatever their positions they want in the marketplace, so that their clients who are looking for what they have to offer, find them, first of all, and then value them, second of all. So let's see here. So this is the 5 V's I talked about in my business and branding. Absolutely critical for any business. I've learned over the last year and a half. Some of these things I brought from my own past and things I've learned on the job. But the 5 V's is how I kind of the framework I use in my business. And the first is find your vision. So I talk about the V's this way. There's vision, value, verbals, visuals, and then visibility. And if you want to build a business, you really only need 4 of those things. You need value. That value is just basically a trade. It's, you know, the value I get from your business is more than a cost I'm willing to pay. Okay, there's value there. That's it. You build a business, and they make sure you have the right visuals so you look legit. You don't look like you're fly by night, things like that. Or maybe it can position you to look even more premium. Verbals means you got the right message for your business. Okay, there's a way to do that well. There's a way to not do that well. The way to not do that well is by talking about yourself. The way to do that well is by talking about your clients. And there's different ways, of course, that you can jump into that and dig into that more. And I've got a couple cool frameworks for verbals. How do you communicate your message clearly and succinctly in a way that makes sense to your customers and makes them want you? And then visibility. Of course, if you work on your business, you know, you get your value correct, you get value proposition, you get verbals and visuals. If you're not going out there in the marketplace, in the right place, in the right watering hole, so to speak, where your customers hang out, you're not going to be seen. So that's the 4 V's just to build a business. But to build a brand for entrepreneurs, that's kind of where I come in. I love helping folks build brands because brands have a vision. They've got a change they want to affect in the world. It may be a small change. We want to have, you know, for this market, for this niche, we want to be the market leader. So that's a quantifiable statement. That's our vision. Okay, then we want to build our brand in that space. We want to build our reputation, so to speak. But if you want to build a brand, though, what I really get excited is working with customers. Like I got one just onboarded recently. They're all about, you know, we make soap. Okay, great, you make soap. But however, they do 2 things differently than any other business that they're trying to build a brand. And to help them see this is that they've got this amazing thing that they do to give 10% of their profits back to local charities, homeless shelters and things like that. And they're also they're basically, we help them identify, they're like the Zappos of skincare. If you don't, the Zappos story, for example, Zappos puts their flag in the ground with customer service. And there's amazing stories about how they do that well. And this company, skincare company, was doing that, but they just didn't realize it. They couldn't see the, you know, inside the bottle they couldn't see the label from inside the bottle. And so that's kind of one of the things we do is come in, help folks understand their vision if they're trying to build a brand or if it's just a business. Either one of those are just legitimately fine. So we do these workshops to do that. Discover the value. So what is actually the value proposition for your business? We do this for this and this, you know, we do this for these folks in this way, for example. That'd be an example of value proposition. And then using the right ways to communicate that. I see Laura Riles in the group. She can attest to the fact that there is plenty of bad ways to talk about your business, and there are only select few good ways. So we make sure to have partners, whether it's myself or copywriters on my team, to use efficient verbal communications. And of course, about attractive visuals. I can't tell you how many folks have an amazing business, an amazing brand, and they're shooting themselves in the foot because they don't realize their visuals are just throwing them under the bus. People aren't taking them seriously. We've all been to a bad website. For a website, we're like, I don't feel comfortable being on this website. I feel like I'm going to get hacked at any second. And so a lot of business owners aren't aware of these things, and nor are they aware about the best ways to get visibility. You know, we assume, okay, we're going to just use this platform, or we're going to use billboards. We're depending on the business and what you're trying to do to find and hang out at those watering holes where your customers hang out. So it's really a 5-part way of looking at all the ways that a business needs to be successful, whether you're trying to build a business or brand through your marketing. So that's a lot of ground I just covered, but basically it starts with a workshop. So that's what we do all our clients. So it's a 1-person business or a 500-person business. There's always some kind of amount of discovery, dig into the client's needs, and then help them understand, is this right? Is this right? Yep, that's correct. And then give them some solutions based off of those assessments, those gaps we identify. Okay, we see you're trying to build a business here. That's fine. Let's just give you our best shot at what that looks like. Or this is a brand you're trying to build, and here's what's involved with trying to build a brand versus a business. There's a difference. So that's Dialog's kind of first step with any client, is those workshops. That's let's see, next step would be, so oftentimes those workshops are turned into deliverables like a website, like a rebrand, or maybe even some SEO plans. I don't do everything myself. I work with some contractors. And so I do some of the work myself, a lot of it still at this stage, being a year and a half in. And my goal is to build this to have a team of experts across every area that business owners need. Because, you know, for example, one business owner comes to me, I need SEO. Well, I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not the SEO expert. I've got someone on my team I can bring in for that. And, or I need someone, you know, I need a rebrand or whatever, and I help them with that, for example. So there's quite a few varieties of businesses. I help in quite a few varieties of types of marketing. I can help with the core of that being, you know, rebranding, making sure visually and vision-wise you're set up for success. And then in terms of the visibility part, you know, how do you get seen in the marketplace? I lean on others for that kind of stuff. So that's the gist of Dialog Design Company. Right now, I mean, this is the shameless plug part that I promised Adam was coming. We're doing this promotion. If you haven't seen it on Facebook yet, it's about this, and I'll move over to this page here. Actually, I realized I just can't. I have to stop sharing and start sharing again here. There we go. Now you should be able to see it. So if you're not on Facebook, because a lot of people aren't these days, or they use the different platforms, this has been an ad I've had running, and I've teamed up with a videographer. So again, I bring folks onto my team as needed, and Austin is his name, and we're working together and doing this video promotion for ourselves to give someone out there, one business in the Chippewa Valley, $8,500 worth of value in video marketing. And I'm, you know, kind of pitching it as a replacement for face-to-face meetings in the COVID era. And it seems to be getting a lot of traction, and folks are really enjoying the message that's being shared in there. So my ask for you, I'm a BNI member, so I'm just going straight to the Ask Adam. You don't have to ask me, how can you help? Sorry, stealing your thunder. Is if you could share this with just one person you think needs it, and that's it. If you think you need it, go ahead and apply. It's free. You'll get some tips by email if you do sign up, that I'll be sharing over the next few months about how to do marketing better, how to do video marketing, things like that. But thank you guys for your time. I'm excited to hear feedback about what I just shared, and any questions I can answer.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. So if you have questions that you would like to ask, you can feel free to pop up in the participants tab and use the raise your hand button. Otherwise, if you don't want to ask your question on camera, you can always drop it in the chat and we can intersperse those in. While we're waiting, Justin, what is your biggest hurdle of convincing someone that they need you, and how do you overcome that when it comes up?
That's a great question. So the biggest hurdle to convincing someone that they need me. Well, oftentimes you got two audiences, right? Like I talked about, you got the plateau businesses. So we're good. We got what we need. So for them, I talk about the problem, and that's the toughest one. Is talking to those folks. We're good. We have what we need. We're at a level we're happy with. For them, it's helping them. It's like basically at that point becomes an insurance pitch. Like if you don't have marketing set up, you're going to be in the tank when something goes down, like this pandemic. But that's a harder pitch. As any insurance person will tell you, it's not fun selling insurance. So that's why I you know, when you talk about entrepreneurs, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot easier because then, you know, I'm a visionary in my business. There's this spectrum. All businesses are, you know, any business owner is either an integrator mostly or a visionary. And I'm more towards the visionary side. And entrepreneurs, a lot of visionaries. And so I love talking. It's a lot easier talking with entrepreneurs, you know, getting this visionary nerd out together and talking about what, you know, what do you need, things like that. So often the challenge is helping folks. The biggest challenge I run into is helping folks understand you need to budget for marketing. You just can't hope it comes to you. It's not one of those things. It's like, well, I hope customers come to me. That's not a marketing plan. And so helping small businesses, even entrepreneurs that are driven, understand this is something you need to invest in on an ongoing basis if you want to be successful in your business. So that's my biggest hurdle. And it's still one of the things I'm learning about how to deal with. Everyone's got different objections about, you know, well, how much should I invest, or, well, I'm not ready for that, and things like that. You know, everyone's more or less risk tolerant. And so understanding what those levels are is part of the, you know, I'm learning how to do sales. I was never a salesperson, but I'm learning how to sell my business as I go here. It's kind of fun. I find a lot of value in that one, enjoying these conversations, but that's an interesting one. It's kind of getting those numbers out of folks. Okay, what are you willing to invest? How can we help you with that number? Maybe shocking them a little bit when they say, "Whoa, it's not something I can afford," and walking through that.
Awesome. Laura's got her hand up here, and then we'll go to Becca.
Hey, Justin.
Hey, Laura.
You mentioned how one of the first services that you're providing to clients is the workshops. Can you kind of dive into more of what that looks like? Is it more of like a one-on-one tailored workshop to that client, or is it, you know, a publicly offered workshop that you use kind of as a funnel to acquire customers?
That's a good question, Laura. I have done them one-on-one. So I'm teaching my clients in many ways, it's discovery and solutions all in one. I assume anything, because you're going to give them solutions that actually don't meet their needs if you assume a lot of things. So it's discovery. I dig into what they need. So it's very one-on-one for that reason. I have to dig into what their business is all about, what their background's about, how they feel about marketing, how they feel about their ability to hit results. And then we move into this kind of education training. Hey, this is what I can do. This is kind of the results I've seen with others. This is why it's important. Kind of making a case for how I do it and why I do it. And so it's kind of a blend of discovery and then teaching, and then at the end, a solutions presentation. So based on what you told me, based on what we can offer, this is what we can solve for you. I've done those spread out over multiple days if someone's not available. Sometimes, most of these days though, I've been just condensing it into a half-day, full-day workshop, even a 2-day workshop, and helping folks do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's yeah, it's cool that it's a tailored approach. And how do you find out then what that first issue is that you want to teach about or workshop with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, when you work with business owners, Laura, you work with business owners, there's so many issues, right? Levels of knowledge people have about different subjects, and you kind of have to understand. I basically have become a consultant is what I've realized. You know, I moved from being a brand strategist, like I'm a consultant. My job is, consultant's first job is to understand what the gaps are. Is it a gap in your knowledge? Is it a gap in your ability to tolerate risk? And I need to coach you towards accepting more risk. Or there's so many gaps. And so it's a process I'm still learning, Laura. I've got kind of a framework. We talk about the 5 V's as a starting framework. What's your vision? I got clear questions there. What's your value statement? Give me your best shot at your value statement. And how do you talk to people? What's your elevator pitch? Let's look at all your visuals across all your mediums. Is this resonate? Do we think this is up to par with what your competitors are doing? Things like that. We're just asking a bunch of gap probing questions. And then from there, I kind of give them my best shot as to what the biggest gaps are. Like, this is your biggest gap. Close this gap ASAP, or you're going to be in trouble, and then go down from there. It's tailor-made in terms of the gaps we dive into. There's no formula per se, but there's a kind of an outline we dive into. And sometimes we go down a rabbit hole and figure out other gaps that we need to talk about.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Becca.
Good job. I had a question about, as you were a startup, how did you kind of go down the path to determine your pricing for your services? Is there other, there's competition in this area for this, and how did you develop, and was it a moving target? Just talk about your pricing strategy path that you took as a startup business.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, to be completely honest, I was like, okay, I'm just going to hit this number every month. It'll be fine. If it's just about me and the value, I think it can bring clients. And that pretty much went out the window quickly. And I had to adjust my pricing, and I'm still at a level where I'm trying to figure out what that is. So like you said, moving target, I'm still trying to figure that out, because I have clients that are national clients, and then I've got clients that are local clients. And that's so different. Those conversations they're somewhat different. At the end of the day, I've discovered there is no one-size-fit-all pricing. So it's really a custom amount of pricing. And I've been bid out by undersold by other options out there that are more niche than me for this kind of client. And I'm like, that's totally fine. I actually think you should go with them if they're cheaper than me, and they also know your niche better than I do. And so pricing isn't something that I've had any kind of done too much research on in terms of what competitors are doing locally, because I like to price myself based on what the number of my clients are giving me and identifying their goals and the pain points, and what's the value price on that, and then what's the goal, and then putting a price on that. So I do a lot of value-based pricing is what that's called. Not always, but often, and I'm still learning how to do that well. Does that make sense, Becca?
It does. Do you get, I know it's always a thing with consulting businesses, like, do you have like a menu price, or do you have I'll quote you when we get there? And sometimes that's a turnoff to people.
Right.
And I just, yeah, it's a struggle. I
It is a
get
struggle.
that.
Yeah. There's totally folks that just want to price and they want to make a decision and they want to go. And for those
Absolutely.
folks, they tell them, well, my website start around $3,500. It's going to be something very basic. It'll meet some immediate needs. I can give ballpark pricing just like that. I can say rebrand, for example, for a single business owner starts around $3,500. But if you have, 50 plus employees, it's going to be more than that because you got a lot more moving pieces. And so that's why we need to do discovery to figure out what that exact price is. And it comes with a proposal. And if you don't need my, and this is my pitch, Becca, this is kind of what helps with the pricing. We'll do the workshop, it's this price. And then if we're happy with the workshop results, you can either hire me to do the work and I'll give you a price for my work, or I'll give you everything you need to be able to go to another shop and say, hey, will you do this work for us? This is what we're all about. This is our vision. This is where we're trying to go. And then if you find a better price or you already have an existing relationship. So I'm super, my pricing is something that pays the bills for me and my family. And there are always going to be those folks that want a quick answer. And I try to meet them where they are while setting clear expectations. I'm not going to be the cheapest option in town, but I am going to be the option that cares for you in terms of your success the most. And I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to teach you some things along the way.
Okay,
So,
good, thank you.
kind of my value proposition.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you bet.
Feel free to keep raising your hands in the participants tab or dropping questions in the chat. Justin, so your approach is it more education-based or more doing-based? Like, do you educate and empower the entrepreneurs that you're working with to do their own work? Or is it more that you kind of educate them on what they need from you and then you do the work?
That's a great question. Is it more one or the other? It depends. It depends on the client. There's some clients, they know absolutely nothing about marketing. It's the first time they're thinking about it. They've got hives when you talk about marketing. And so you have to start at ground zero with those folks and you have to bring them up and then they realize, okay, I'm not ready for this. And you're like, okay, that's fine. And then you've got other folks that are very well-versed and they just need somebody to do the work. I still work today with client. I've got this client out in California, San Francisco. They hire me just for my hands. They don't hire me for my brains. And I'm charging an hourly rate. And that pays the bills. It's wonderful. I'm doing the work. They trust the work. I don't have to teach them a ton. I teach them maybe 10% about what I'm doing. Hey, this is why we're doing these wireframes for your website, kind of understand the user flow so it makes sense so that when we design it, it's not designed the wrong way. Things like we're doing wireframes for this client, which are outlines of websites. And that's fine. But there is a stage at some point where I want to start productizing some of these things. That's a fancy word for creating a system around a solution and then saying no to certain kinds of clients and getting really narrow. I'm not there yet. I'm trying to figure out what that is. As a new business, I'm trying to, one of the things you do as a new business, you cast your net wide, you take everything, and then over time you get better and better at just doing one thing really well. And I have an idea what that is, just haven't gotten any kind of traction with that thing yet, which is consulting and branding, those kinds of things. So.
Awesome. John asked in the chat, what is your approach on prospecting?
So my approach is multi-varied for two reasons. One, I was never a marketer before the last year and a half. I was a designer. I was the big strategic thinker in terms of marketing, like other people did that. And so I'm still learning a lot of these things about how to prospect for my own business. And the second answer is I'm also very scattered as an individual. I have ADHD. It's something that holds me back. It's wonderful strength. It gets me excited about new clients. It gets me, ask questions other people don't ask. I'm also a personality type that, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, for example, Enneagram 7. So I love to just do the fun things. And then, but that means I'm very scattered. And so what that means for my prospecting is that I've got quite a few things going on. And I tell my clients, dude, don't do more than 2 or 3 things. I've got like 7 things going on. So I'm not even taking my own advice here. And so I'm trying to narrow it down. And so I'm doing, for example, LinkedIn, reaching out to folks that I think are my target audience, just adding them as a connection and then building that relationship as I post things online. I've got this promotion, for example, if you sign up for it, you'll be added to my list. You'll get value over time, build that trust. I'm also doing BNI because I realized when I launched my business a year and a half ago, I kind of looked up, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I looked up and I was like, wow, my network only exists in 2 places. My last 2 employers. I don't know anyone else. So I got to build my network. So BNI is a great way to do that and kind of understand, where folks are at. Regular business, everyday folks are at in their ideas of marketing. It's been insightful. And then one-to-ones with anyone, that'll take me up that I think would be a valuable partner in helping them understand what I do and that I'm here, this is what I do. So those are at least 4 ways I've prospected, and I've gotten leads from all 4. So and I haven't found one that's very consistent. I can tell you there's like a bunch of others, like online directories I'm a part of as a designer. People will find me through. So it's again, the net is cast wide for me, and I'm trying to narrow it down. That's actually one of the things I'm trying to work on this year, intentionally, just get really good at one prospecting method for my business.
In the chat, Liz also asked, you mentioned some of your pricing. What is your price on your initial workshop?
So if you're a single business owner and there's a little bit of strategy. I do a 15-minute call, a 60-minute call, and then we do the workshop. What those do is it help me understand where you're at in business and what your biggest problems are and where you're trying to go. And so for the most part, I've quoted workshops, give you some insight. I've quoted workshops at $750 a workshop. If you're a single business owner and you just need a half day to dig in some things, we got some quick questions I can answer and things like that, all the way up to $3,500 for a 2-day workshop, which are 2 half-day workshops. And there's some, and so at the end of those, what you get is not just me understanding what you're all about and giving you a custom tailored proposal for if you want my help. If I can help you, sometimes I can't, I'll refer you to someone else. But it also involves, here's some deliverables you get at the end of that. Like here's the whatever your position in the marketplace. You say you want to be here, and then you got a competitor over here. Where do you want to be? There's some very cool deliverables you get based off of the hour and a half or so ahead of the workshop that we kind of identify what are the biggest problems you have. And so I custom tailor the workshop around that, build the deliverables around that, kind of give you some insights, some aha moments, some gold nuggets in that workshop that you can walk away from and think, okay, I feel more prepared for my next step in growth because of this. I know I need to do this or whatever. I need to, take this step. And those deliverables will help equip you for the next step, whether you hire me or not. So does that answer your question? Is that helpful?
Awesome. Brooke asked, I see a lot of green in your branding. Why green?
Why green? Why green? That's a great question, Brooke. I don't actually often get asked questions about my own brand. I've wondered that myself, actually. Why green? I can come up with some really cool answer, like, green is the color of growth and nature, and I make my business partners thrive. But, when I picked it years and years ago, I don't remember why I picked green. It just works. It still works. And there's no deep answers to everything I've learned in business, even for designers who like me, who like to pride themselves in having a reason for every decision they make. I don't have an answer off the top of my head. I might have had one back then. I don't remember what it was.
It was funny, actually, as you said growth, Liz typed growth in the chat. So
I mean, yeah, designers are notorious. I'll tell you guys a little bit of insight on designers. Designers are great. They're great thinkers, creative thinkers. And oftentimes they come from they give you something that just feels good. And then you tell them, why'd you pick that? And they're like, crap, now I got to think of like 5 answers why that was good. And I follow these design blogs online, and it's like, okay, we designed this for these reasons, and this logo does these things, and it references this thing and this other thing. And it's like all the other designers in the chat are like, yeah, that's total BS. They added that later. And it is. Like, a lot of designers make these great designs, and they are wonderful, and they feel good at a gut level, but you just can't really describe why. And they might have 1 or 2 legitimate reasons why they pick that, but they can't. Designers are, because it's a creative endeavor, it's not like math. You can say 1 + 1 = 2. Design, you have to justify your stuff. And so a lot of designers feel like they have to justify their reasons post design to like mitigate the amount of like feedback they get and changes they have to make. So I'm just be honest about that. I have no real reason. I could say green, but that's just me after the fact doing the same thing I just talked about.
Liz.
Well, I just want to interject for one moment, Justin, because I love those type of questions and that type of color theory, because there is, some background to, why you gravitate towards a color. Yeah. And I will just add that green is a color of creativity in addition to growth. Small red rooms inhibit your creativity, and like larger spaces that are green actually encourage it. So actually there is some, color theory brainwaves probably going on in your head, just trying to encourage the creativity both with your company and others.
I appreciate that, Liz. Thank you. Now I got a reason I can tell people.
Yep. Color theory.
No, but I get what you're saying. Like subconsciously you're saying subconsciously it might have fed the decision, and I believe that. Yeah, that's the
Right.
thing with design.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, as a creator yourself, I'm sure you see that subconsciously, like, why did I do that? Oh yeah, it works really well, because, and you never consciously thought that. It's just
Right.
as a natural creator, you know your brain's creating those shortcuts for you, that you kind of have to think about afterwards why you did that.
Yeah. See, you got it.
Justin, you were saying that you're casting your net super wide, but your ideal kind of client is an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What stage of entrepreneurship kind of excites you most, or are you most passionate about? Are you most passionate about helping a startup business that's in concept phase kind of refine their plan and figure out what their brand is going to be? Or are you more passionate about taking a business that has been in operation and kind of retooling their brand strategy and making it better, making it more robust, making it more recognizable?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I've often thought about that myself. So a revelation I've had recently is that I can be a very opinionated person. I'll still give someone like the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, you make your own decisions, but this is my strong opinion, and I need to be that person as a consultant. But what I found is when I try to coach businesses, this is my revelation, when I try to coach businesses that are not yet at a final product or idea, I don't know if you've ever been to counseling, but a good counselor isn't going to tell you what to do and what you should be thinking. A good counselor will draw out of you what you bring to the answer, bring yourself to answer your own questions in many ways. And they have a lot of tools to do that. I found that I'm not very good at that yet. I want to be better at that. And so what that means is if I work with someone who's super early stage or mid stage and they got a proof of concept and stuff, I will impress on them my ideas of what they should be doing, without necessarily understanding the problem the way they see it, and without the passion they see it. Now, I've got some passion. I got my own passion because I get super passionate about helping people solving problems, especially startups. But and I've done this. I worked with, and I got a really good friend helping him concepting who's your target audience and pulling that on. And he's kind of got this 20-year experience and things like that. Well, you're pivoting, you want to change. He got let go during the crisis, or actually right before the crisis. So I was like, okay, you want to start your business, and I'm realizing. That's a great example, like starting from zero. Like haven't done this, haven't prospect in 20 years. How do I do this well again? I'm realizing that I've got a lot of great ideas given, but it really has to be for him to do his own homework and get to a certain point. I don't exactly know what that point is for every business, but unless you've got some proof of concept or like some hypothesis, let's put it that way. Here's my hypothesis. People will buy this widget because it solves this problem in their lives. They've done a little bit of research. Then I can work with that. I can give them my best shot and everything after that. But until that point, I'm going to give folks send them in the wrong direction. I don't want to be liable for them trying something that's completely off just because I see some gaps myself and I'm not seeing it from their perspective. Does that make sense? So yeah. So what I try to do is work with folks. What I really excel is working with folks that've already got something going. They've experienced some traction with it, whether it's market research or it's got some validation, some sales, and then I can help them really improve that. And then beyond that, we're talking about after the first 5. So that's within the first 5 years of business. After the first 5 years of business, which is the typical, like, okay, now we made it. We're kind of got stabilization. I can work with those folks too to really refine some things they're doing. And most of my clients are within that phase because they're like realizing, okay, I'm done with all DIY stuff. I'm ready to delegate. I'm really ready to lean on someone else who's an expert and make this thing better and grow faster in many ways. So that's who I try to, I get really excited when I talk to someone like that because that's probably a better client than somebody who's really early stage and there's probably better resources for them to learn how to do things. I can point them to free resources online than meeting with me and talking with me. Although I'm open to it, it just depends on the risk tolerance for a few things.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Brooke asked, do you work with 2 of the same competing businesses at the same time? And if so, how do you keep their content looking similar in messaging?
How do I keep 2 competing businesses' content and messaging from looking similar? That's a great question, Brooke. I'll tell you what, I don't think it's happened to me yet. And so that's a problem I need to solve when I get there. Yeah, I've got similar businesses, but they're not direct competitors. Like it's very rare to find a direct competitor situation. Like you got one mattress store here, one mattress store here. Like that hasn't happened to me. You've got folks in the same niche, but they're either geographically completely different or their target audience is completely different. or slightly different. So there's so many, I mean, I've talked to folks in marketing about this, like how do you navigate that space? And what I've heard from other folks in marketing who deal with this on a regular basis, they say, well, ultimately we still work with both of them. And you find that like this attorney and this attorney, they both do estate law, but this attorney wants these kinds of customers in estate law, and this attorney wants these kinds of customers. And so you can kind of work that. So there's a way to navigate that. I don't know what that looks like just yet. That hasn't happened to me yet.
Justin, could you talk just a little bit more about the video giveaway and kind of what's included with that package and how what a business owner that applies for that could expect on the other end of it if they were selected?
You bet. Great. All right. So here's what to expect. I'm going to go down the page here a little bit. So two things, process and deliverables. So that's what I heard in the question. So what do you get out of it? I don't think I have a spot on here. It's in the video. But this is a great way to talk about what you get out of it. I'm going to move. I got my window covering up part of my screen. Not for you guys. You can't see that, but all right. So I'll talk about deliverables. So what do you get out of it? Well, you get a video ad based around your business. You don't have to star in the video necessarily, but we encourage that to build that relationship, especially if you're really early stage and you depend on interpersonal relationships to build your business. Like if you're service business, for example, you probably want to star in your video. But if your product, that's not necessary. If your product business, not necessarily the case. So you get that video. You know, Austin and I will come out, we'll ideate with you, and that's the process question we got up there. But what you'll get at the end is the video. You'll get a landing page. You'll get a plan for your ads. You get some targeting, make understanding. You'll do the workshop. The workshop I talked about earlier. We'll do that workshop with you. Kind of ideate some things, understand what your business is all about. What would make a really good marketing suite for you, and the fancy word for that is marketing funnel, automated marketing funnel. So from the start of the video ad on Facebook, what would be the next, or Instagram, what would that next step look like? Is it a landing page? What's on the landing page? What's the offer going to be? Is it irresistible offer? What's next step? And then what does the email sequence look like? So that's kind of what this outline is here. Whether it leads to direct sale, or what are your goals as a business? Do you want more leads, and then it's up to you to turn them into sales, or do you think there's a way to have sales immediately online? It's probably not going to happen right away. So how do we get to that? And then using lead magnet of some kind, whether it's a quiz or a 1 hour teaching video, or free trial, whatever. What is your lead magnet? And then autoresponder email series to build that trust over time. Hey, thanks for signing up. Here's information about the thing. Hey, we've been doing this a while, building authority, showing value. Hey, this is something you can think about in your business with this one thing. And so it's a bunch of web design, graphic design, photography, videography, email marketing, retargeting, making sure, if you've ever been to Amazon and you see like, I want to buy this thing, and then you leave Amazon, you're like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere now. That's retargeting. All that stuff's involved. That's in terms of the deliverables. Now, what to expect if you do win, and this is even if you don't win, if you want to work with me on this video marketing thing, meet with you, do the workshop, brainstorm creative video, get more eyeballs on your business. Austin and I, we love humor. We think humor works really well for businesses. So we'll have that bent in the video if we can, if we think it's appropriate. If you're a funeral home, there may not be room for that. I don't know. And then we'll shoot the video, edit, and put it on Facebook. And then you basically sit back and relax. There might be some follow-up you need to do with certain clients, but it's meant to be kind of done for you, completely done for you service. And so without you lifting a finger is kind of how I'm pitching it. Does that make sense? What other questions do you have there, Brooke?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Basically, building that sales funnel for someone, I think, is a really important step for a lot of businesses that they don't necessarily always know how to do themselves. So I think that's a really cool thing. In addition to the fact that it's a video package, it's a sales funnel too. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, trying to automate those things. Just because you have the video, for example, Austin, he's made plenty of videos for folks over the years. He said, yeah, I'll give them a video. They don't know what to do with it. I've seen this all the time. Oh, we paid $600 for a video. And you look, like, where is it? You scroll down their page like 3 months ago, and there's a little video. It has 5 views. It's like, you paid $600 for that. So you got to make sure the video is also in the right places, the right watering holes, has ad spend behind it, money you pay to the platform to get a lot of people to see it. And then give them a clear next step from the video. This is what we want you to do with this information we just gave you.
Awesome. Emily asked in the chat, have you ever worked with similar businesses in different geographic regions? And is it worth specializing in marketing businesses in that specific industry? Build industry knowledge equals industry credibility.
So, okay, great. Okay, Emily, the first two questions. So what was the first part, Adam?
First part was, have you worked with similar businesses in different geographic regions?
Different geo area. Okay. Yes, counseling clinics is one example. And companies that need packaging, but not in the same industry. So it's the niche horizontally is the same, vertically is different. And what was the second part of the question?
Second part was, would it be worth specializing in marketing businesses in one of those specific industries?
Yeah, totally.
To build your industry credibility.
Right. So finding my niche basically is the question Emily's asking. Yes, absolutely. In fact, Emily, that's the direction I'm going in. I'm trying to get into. So when I talked about earlier productizing my business, I'm trying to find a consistent problem for a consistent type of client that I can solve really, 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 really well, and building a business around that so that I get to do all the fun parts, and then I've got a team to help me do I get the visionary parts. Hey, well, you got this problem, and we talk, and then I got a team to do all the integrator parts. That's my vision for my business. I'm not there yet. I'm still at a stage, where I realize, okay, I'm going to let my niche come to me. So a lot of folks say, well, this is how you pursue a niche. I'm on my third niche right now. I've learned how to ask, I don't know if Kelly Bear's on the call, but she just sent out a wonderful email today about how to ask questions that help you get to the problems your customers deal with so you validate your product. I've been doing that over and over and over again. I'm on my third niche right now. And I kind of paused it because I realized this is taking a ton of my time to go after a niche and then build a set of solutions for a niche. So I decided, let me just stay where I am right now. Let my niche come to me over time as I build up my kind of consulting skills, asking good questions. And so I'm letting my niche come to me at this point. But it is my goal to get to a niche. And I can't wait till I get there because I'm excited for that. I've seen what it does for other businesses. You can really scale predictably when you have a niche. You build your reputation a lot faster, and there's all sorts of really cool things that happen when you niche down.
Awesome. Elaine asked, is your business model set up to continuously work with your clients, or is it more of kind of a one and done model where you kind of work with them once, give them what they need, and then you're on to the next project? Yeah,
that's a great question. Elaine, I have different services I do. And so depending on the service, it's usually, if it's a branding project, it's typically one and done. However, I do brand coaching. I'm marketing brand coaching. And so if they want, they can hire me on a monthly basis to just give them some, hey, you got this brand, you got this thing. Let's kind of give you some coaching on how to use it well. They don't have to do that if they don't want to. So I'm doing both. And my goal is to build monthly recurring revenue in my business. I've been told you want an 80% MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and 20% one-time projects. I'm probably flipped right now. Although I haven't done the math recently. I'm probably 50-50 actually now at this point. So I'm trying to get to that because it's a lot more predictable and things like that. So, I've got SEO plans, for example. I don't do the SEO. I know enough to be dangerous again. I can coach clients through all the big things like here's how SEO works. Here's what you need to think about, backlinks, all that nerdy language. But I've got someone to do SEO, and then I get a cut of that. And so they're doing the work. I'm getting a cut of it. I'm managing the relationship. I'm walking the client through different things. So there's services like that I have built in that help me with my monthly recurring revenue and ongoing help for the client. SEO is a good example of that.
Awesome. Brooke asked, I see your sponsored Facebook post. You have already received some great traction. Once you choose the winner, besides the emails, how else do you plan to connect with the rest of the entries? Would you consider holding a workshop for people who entered when it's appropriate to do so? If they've entered, obviously they need what you offer in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Brooke, don't tell anyone, especially not anyone on Facebook Live, you're going to get a discount on my services. Killer deals coming. And then you'll get ongoing education, of course. I'll teach you things that I know. And you'll learn about, maybe if you want to do it yourself, we want to do a video, I'll teach you, some of the things I'm doing, Austin's doing, why we do things. And so there's ongoing education. So education and then killer deal.
So you're essentially doing yourself what you are giving away in this giveaway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So kind of using the model to your advantage and then also giving it away to someone else. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I can't possibly meet with the thousands of people that have seen my video already, one-on-one. And so they're getting to know me and about me and Austin a little bit. And that's our introduction to the world, so to speak, in this area.
Excellent. So it doesn't look like we've got any other questions pending here. And we've already kind of touched on what can we as a community do for you. Make sure that you nominate your own business if you have one, or nominate a friend's business or someone that you think could be deserving of the package.
Yeah. And to be clear, you have to have them nominate themselves, because there's a little checkbox on there, and I'm trying to see if we can get rid of the ad spend for one business that really can't afford any money towards this. I'm trying to work with a sponsor for that. We'll see if it turns out that's, we'll see. But you can't nominate someone, because we can pull them out of the hat and be like, okay, we're going to work with you. And they're like, who are you? What? I've got to pay money? This is ad spend? So you got to nominate yourself. You got to check that box. Says, yeah, I got to pay Facebook for their ad spend. It's not paying us. It's paying Facebook to advertise on there.
So nominate yourself and share with anybody.
Share. And they can determine if they're willing to nominate themselves. Exactly.
Excellent. So we'll see you all again next week. Same time, same place. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.